waiting for us.
Hello there. So, it's been a while since we've had one of these, but it's time for a review chat for Mass Effect Andromeda. So you've got me, Stefan, and I'll be asking the questions, and today I'm joined by Dom, who's reviewing the game.
Hello.
First things first, it's worth mentioning that what you're seeing is the PC version of the game, running at pretty high settings. Dom has been playing on PlayStation 4 Pro. But, Dom, let's start with the elephant in the room, the animations, which caused quite a stir since the game went into the Origin Access and EA Access trial. Are they really that bad?
Some of them aren't great.
Okay.
Is the basic thing is that in some cases it's really, really noticeable, and it's probably most noticeable in the human characters, because we all vaguely know what a human is supposed to look like, and therefore when they do weird things, then it does throw you a bit out of the game. However, any of the aliens may or may not occasionally animate a bit oddly, but it certainly doesn't catch your eye in anywhere near the same way, because who knows what they're really supposed to move like.
But it's not all bad, basically, and like as a whole, the game looks pretty good.
As a whole, I think the game does look very good for most of the time. I think you spend most of your time running around planets, doing good deeds, and generally sticking your nose into everybody's business. When you're running about and shooting things, there's not a heck of a lot of the time that you'll be thinking, "Oh my God, that looks terrible." It's generally in the sort of the conversation bits and some of the in-engine cutscenes where things will sort of catch your eye a bit, and you'll think, that's not as good as it should be. But when some of the planets are absolutely phenomenal, and there's lots. The Frostbite engine makes Mass Effect Andromeda for a lot of the time look absolutely brilliant. I think there's very few games that have captured alien worlds to the extent that Andromeda does, and to the scale that Andromeda does. A lot of the other stuff sort of fades away a bit when you really consider the size of the undertaking that BioWare have managed to get. So yeah, overall, I think there's still a lot of like wow moments to be had from the game.
Yeah, you mentioned the alien worlds, and like one of the things that BioWare talked about was getting that feeling of exploration back in the game. Have they managed to do that pretty well?
Really well, I think.
Even better.
Even better. There's a lot of sort of that Star Trek feel to it, really, of going down to a planet, hopefully not losing some nameless extra person from your crew, but that sense that you can get into your Nomad, which is a huge improvement as a land vehicle, in that it doesn't behave in some weird fashion. And yeah, I think the worlds are populated with so many side missions and extra sort of, you find outposts in places, and there's like you can go over a mountain, and then there'll be like this huge sort of space castle that looks like somewhere that Darth Vader might live or something like that. It's pure science fiction theatre, and yeah, they've done really well with it, I think.
I look forward to finding Darth Vader's castle. That sounds pretty great. How's the combat in the game? Because it's obviously much more. Well, they've even gone further with the action-oriented side of things, and you've got a jetpack, so you can jump, you can boost, and that's going to affect the combat as well.
Yeah, combat has been progressing since the first one, with every version of Mass Effect, and this one's no different. It takes what they had before and builds on it. And you've got the extra movement that you've now got, and like your jump pack, you can jump up and hover in the air with it for a bit. There's even sort of some platformy elements where you're using your boost and stuff, and sort of clambering around locations, and largely that stuff all works really well too. There can be a few sticking points sometimes where I have found myself getting stuck on scenery occasionally through sort of boosting out of the way of something, and because that motion's so fast, you can end up somewhere where you weren't quite expecting, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and obviously the combat's a pretty big part of the multiplayer. In fact, it's basically all of the multiplayer, which is this wave-based Horde Mode. Is it a worthy inclusion? How big a step forward is it over Mass Effect 3?
It's not a huge jump forward. I played a lot of Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, and I love Horde Mode. I'm not a big fan of player versus player stuff, but I do really enjoy being a part of a team and taking on waves of AI. And Mass Effect Andromeda's version of that once again builds on what they had before. It Fortunately it doesn't tie into the single player game in the same way like you were forced to with Mass Effect 3. There is interactivity between the two, but it's certainly not as required as it was before. It plays really well. It looks great. It's very challenging. So I think it does sort of promote you working your way up through classes, building your character up, improving your stats, getting extra weapons and stuff like that. It certainly isn't a walkover when you first start it.
Yeah, I definitely found that as well. Yeah. Last question, back to the single player. How's the banging? Is there good shagging to be had? I mean, that's what Mass Effect's really about. Is basically this dating simulator in space.
Now, there's very few games where the moment that you set foot on your spaceship, you start wondering who should be the object of your affection. And I don't remember doing it with any of the others, but Mass Effect Andromeda, there was certainly a few cases of going, oh yes, and and that's a weird thing. I don't I don't think there's been that I've ever had that in any computer game. As currently as it stands, I have not yet reached the peak of my amorous affections. Um, that could well still be on the cards for tomorrow.
Well, I wish you the best of luck in your love relationship in this video game.
But I fully expect it to be probably just as awkward as it ever has before.
Sounds wonderful. All right, let's wrap things up. So, in conclusion, good game?
It's a good game. I think if you've enjoyed the other Mass Effects, this is more Mass Effect. And on the whole, it looks great. On the whole, it plays great. There's masses and masses to do. And sure, it isn't perfect, but there's a hell of a lot to like.
Awesome. Alright, so that's where we're going to wrap things up. You can catch Dom's written and scored review over on thesixthaxis.com. Obviously, just come and visit us anyway. But before you go, also like and subscribe to this video and check out the rest of our videos here on YouTube. And hopefully we will see you again soon. Goodbye.
Bye.
Who are you?
That was pretty cool.
Huh. Well, yeah. Guess it was. Still haven't told me who you are.
I'm the Pathfinder.
Are you now?
You can call me Ryder.
I'm Drac, Clan Nakmor. You'll forgive me if I didn't just trust a stranger from the Nexus.